Morning, guys. Everything new under the sun. I want to take a look at a couple articles just to keep us abreast of what's happening, where the debt situation is, and what the potential for a grid down scenario is. And another article has come out. We're going to take a look at the debt in a second here. Another article has come out. This is a zerohedge.com, and is basically the U.S. government is again finding that the grid is not prepared for an EMP blast. North America is not prepared for an EMP blast, whether from the sun or otherwise. The North America is not ready for a power down situation for any period of time. The grids are not ready. They're not. They're not secured. They're not strengthened against electromagnetic pulse or a blast from the sun, etc. Catastrophic power outage poses profound threat to U.S. New government report finds. The government over and over reports this, but I don't think they do anything about it. The U.S. is not prepared for a catastrophic power outage. What would that cause? That would put the U.S. and Canada back into, I don't know, the early 1900s, the 1800s. It would mean death for thousands, tens of thousands, possibly millions of people, as a starvation quickly got out of hand. Violence escalated rapidly. You would need martial law. You would have people desperate for food, and even the most normal people would be going out there with weapons because, their families are starving. They're going to die anyways, so they will do whatever it takes to get food, and that may include violence, killing people, robbing, etc. This is coming. This is really the end result of an EMP blast is the definition of the Mad Max scenario. You can watch the Mad Max videos, and I don't know if they would be driving around in cars as much as they do in Mad Max with car chases, but certainly you would have chaos, a zombie apocalypse, as it were. It would be inconceivable what will occur once things get really bad and you have power outage. If you look in any area, if you have a power outage for more than 24 hours, about 24 hours after the outage, you have looters going around, and those looters are dangerous. They're criminals, and so they're going to possibly have weapons on them, and that's what could occur. If you have 48, 36 hours of power outage, people are getting desperate, especially if it happens in the winter. People are getting cold, and you will have deaths, and you will have chaos. There's not enough police to police everything. It goes on the report, titled "Surviving a Catastrophic Power Outage," explains the findings of the council, which is tasked with examining the nation's ability to respond and recover from catastrophic power failure of a magnitude beyond modern experience, exceeding prior events in severity, scale, duration, and consequence. Simply put, how can the nation best prepare for and recover from catastrophic power outage? So this is what the executive summary lists. After interviews with dozens of senior leaders, experts, and extensive review of studies and statutes, we found that existing national plans, response resources, and coordination strategies would be outmatched by a catastrophic power outage. The profound risk requires new national focus. This, I would suggest to you, is an existential threat to North America, and this may be indeed what takes U.S. out of world reserve currency status. This may be one of the reasons why the U.S. is, or any Western nation, is not any significant player in Ezekiel 38, not named, or any significant player in any end-time Bible prophecy. Whether it's economic collapse or a grid down scenario, both cause the same issue, and both would be Mad Max situations. It goes on here. The NIAC defines catastrophic power outage as events beyond modern experience that exhaust or exceed mutual aid capabilities, likely to be no notice or limited notice events. So you're not going to be ready for it. 99% of people are not going to be ready for it. That's why you need to prepare and have provisions ready to go. Long duration, lasting several weeks to a month, due to physical infrastructure damage. So the damage to the grid, and they can't bring it up for weeks or months. Who is ready? Everybody has gas generators around here. How long will they last when you cannot no longer get gasoline, when the generators run out after about 24, 36 hours and you can't get gasoline, people will be panicking at that point in time. I cannot stress that enough. If this happens, and it's a very real likelihood, whether by economic collapse or EMP grid down scenario, which happens all over North America right now, just in specific places. Last due to hurricane. Actually, the last was due to a massive winter storm in the Carolinas where 100,000 were without electricity. And it brings chaos, and the police can deal with it for a time. As long as it's a small area, the National Guard can come in. But when it's North America wide, when all the grids are down, or when economic collapses, there will not be enough law enforcement officials to deal with it. It will be Mad Max. It will be everyone for himself. If you don't have some sort of weapons, if you don't have food to give to people to assuage them, if they come knocking on your door, if you don't have the abilities to survive this for yourself, let alone dealing with the people who may come to your door looking for food, you're going to be in a bad situation. What's the other piece here? It affects a broad geographic area, so it has to be a large portion of the United States or North America generally, and it causes cascading impacts that force critical sectors, drinking water, water systems, communications, transportation, healthcare, financial services, to operate in a degraded state. If an EMP blast goes down, one grid that is down starts trying to grab power from another grid, which causes a cascading grid failure. And Canada and the U.S. are connected. So when Canadian grid goes down, they start attempting to draw from U.S., and that starts drawing the U.S. grid down. And that's already happened before. I believe when the Quebec grid went down, it started pulling northern U.S. states down because it was trying to pull power from them, and you have that cascading grid collapse. Well, it goes on here and talks about what the government could do, but this is an existential threat to North America. And since North America, Western nations are not mentioned in end-time Bible prophecy by any significant means, that means probably one of these things happens to us. It's either economic collapse or EMP, or maybe a combination of both. Maybe EMP blast triggers the economic collapse. Well, U.S. debt is poised to hit $22 trillion as quote-unquote storm clouds gather, indicating we could have another financial crisis. And the storm clouds gathering, that was a quote from, I believe it was the IMF, high-ranking officials anyways. The IMF. The deputy head of the IMF just said he sees storm clouds gathering. The storm clouds of the next financial crisis are gathering, despite the world financial system being unprepared for another downturn. That's because they don't have enough interest rates increased to be able to shoot out as bullets when the next one happens. So they have no way to basically band-aid the next economic collapse. David Lipton, the first deputy managing director of the IMF, said the crisis prevention is incomplete. More than a decade on from the last meltdown, 2008, global banking system. As we have put it, fix the roof while the sun shines. As we have put it, fix the roof while the sun shines, they said. But likely many of you, I see storm clouds gathering, building, and fear the work on a crisis prevention is incomplete. Excuse me. I was going to sneeze there for a second. So this is the head of the IMF, CNBC, Janet Yellen. This is what I read the other day. We could have another financial crisis. There are gigantic holes in the system, Yellen says. The tools that are available to deal with emerging problems are not great in the United States. They used all the tools in the 2008 crisis, and the tools will not work again the same way. Many have said that Trump, while he's in office, U.S. debt will go to $40 trillion, will double. And so we're at $22 trillion right now. Every year, $1 trillion is added to the national debt, apparently. If we want to spend $1 trillion fixing up our crumbling infrastructure, where's the money going to come from? They're going to have to print it out of thin air. Again, the U.S. can do that as long as they are the world's reserve currency. U.S. consumers are more than $13 trillion in debt. I'm going to put this link in the description. You can read it. It's significant. It's scary in a sort of way when you put these two things together, economic collapse and EMP blast, or a grid down scenario. You have an absolute apocalyptic, end of the world, zombie apocalypse scenario situation, which could well be why there is no United States or other major Western nations mentioned in Ezekiel 38:39 and coming to the defense of Israel. These are the things that are coming. On the one hand, it's exciting because Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. On the other hand, it's scary. This stuff is coming. This is inevitable. The economic collapse is absolutely inevitable with the debt on the books right now. They have to be wiped out, and they're going to be wiped out by economic collapse. And then we'll move into a world government and an antichrist figure who will implement a mark of the beast system and also enforce the peace covenant with Israel, which we've been talking about. Scary times are coming. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to die. It's going to be a lot of Christians who are persecuted, who are put through very bad situations in North America. We've been blessed. We've had a very calm and peaceful time so far, but these bad times are coming, and coming fast. Are you prepared? Do you have food, water? Have you prepared your mind? Have you prepared your heart for Jesus Christ? We're going to see some really, really bad persecution and really, really hard times, I believe, in the not-too-distant future. And if you don't know Jesus Christ, and if you're not prepared, if you're not following the Bible, the example given of Joseph in Egypt and the 7 good years preparing for the 7 bad years, if you're not using biblical examples and not relying on God to sustain you and take you through to the end of this, you're going to be in a pretty sad situation. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there. I'll see you guys in the next video.